This is On the Wire, Racing TV's podcast for the best racing previews in association with Bar One Racing.
And you are very welcome in this week's episode. This is how great On the Wire is. We just make it up every few minutes or every few hours because Billy Lee, fresh from a treble last night, has joined us today to talk about his season so far. That brilliant, very late treble on the card, and obviously what might happen for the rest of the season. We're going to look back on the Arc as well, discuss a fairly lean return, it has to be said, for Irish runners over the weekend, particularly in Paris. A brilliant weekend for Aidan McGuinness, not so much for the likes of Aidan O'Brien and so forth, and agony for Dermot Weld in the big one. We're also going to discuss the racing over the next couple of days, interesting cards, including one at Thurles and Navan as well. And we've plenty much to get through on the show, a few naps to come, and we'll be talking about Aidan O'Brien's comments, actually, the racing post to Richie Forrestal the last couple of days as well. Very, very interesting stuff about the drug situation. We're joined by Johnny MacDonald of Bar One Racing, joined by Fran Berry as ever, and our special guest, Billy Lee. Billy Lee, how are you getting on?
Very good, Johnny. Yeah, all good.
Were you expecting a win or two last night?
I was hoping so, yeah. It was nice to get the treble now. Tipperary has been a lucky hunting ground for me over the last good few years. And when I was hoping Ken's horses win the last, I thought I'd been a little bit ambitious, dropping Moss Tucker back to 5, but it was great call by him. And to be fair, cracking name, she wins one there every year, and she had a good run in the stall, and she came alive there yesterday, so it was great to they all clicked into gear.
Let's have a look back on your three winners. And Moss Tucker, obviously, that race looked like it might be quite a classy race. John Regan's in it, but ended up travelling very well. This is the first of them, Billy, cracking name, obviously, in the red hat here on the outside. Can you talk us through this, Billy?
Yeah, I travelled well.
He's speechless.
Yeah, I travelled well just behind the pace, and she took me into the race real well. I actually arrived there on the bridle, and I could have just done with something, lead me a bit longer. Dave had told me to come over to the stands rail, and it all went fairly smoothly. And when I picked her up, she found plenty and kept galloping well out through the line.
And here's Moss Tucker travelling very well in front.
Yeah, I tell you, the last day he ran in the core over 7, and the gate was actually a bit faulty, and came back and swung back. The left gate came back and swung back at him, and he lost his concentration. He actually stumbled out of the stalls, and then I had to just give him a squeeze to get up there, and it lit him up, and he ran too keen a bit with me over the 7. Previous that, he'd ran third over 6 in Farios, and he'd actually travelled well, so Ken was keen to try that, and everything came right. He pinged the stalls very well last night. He was out and he controlled the race from the get-go, and I was able to go when I wanted, and to be fair to him, he kept galloping strong all through the line.
And this is the conclusion of your inevitable treble here for Swift Flight, not winning out a turn for Ken.
No, to be fair to him, it's the first time he's got that ground all year. It probably wasn't the strongest of races, but he's a horse that I think he'll have to keep on side for next year. He's probably going to get a gelding operation now through the winter, and hopefully he can come back a bigger, stronger horse next year. He's definitely one I'd be keeping on side for next year now.
And Fran, no coincidence, Billy coming up the stand side there for those winners. A couple of them often a very favourable passage up Limerick Junction.
Billy Lee knows Tipperary very well, and soft, heavy ground into October. Stand side is the place to be, particularly in that sprint track, Billy. Even on good ground this year, you got to be towards that near side rail, or you're in trouble. It's been a big bias, more so I feel this year than other years, even on better ground.
Oh, definitely, Fran. I usually some years good ground wouldn't make a difference where you came. You could stay over the far rail and you'd be fine. But this year, seemingly, if you're drawn 5, weren't drawn higher than 5, you're probably not in the race at all. And I don't know what it is that they've tried to correct it. They've spurred off a little bit at the start of the, say, for the first 2.5 furlongs, they've spurs up so you don't get over that far. But the high numbers definitely have the advantage down the sprint track.
Go ahead, Fran. Ken's horse, Billy, they've been a bit slow to come to hand this year. He just hasn't found his rhythm as such, but nice to be finishing off the year, especially around sales time on a bit of a high.
Exactly. Yeah. I suppose. Look, our 2-year-olds have been a little bit disappointed. We thought in the spring they promised a bit and maybe didn't come. Hopefully next year that they'll come into fruition. But no, nice to be finishing off the year well now.
And are there many tracks that you would say, Billy, in Ireland that have a strong sort of track bias like that in terms of the draw, or has it kind of been more augmented this season?
Sure, there is few tracks, Johnny. Like you'd say Bellewstown, but to be fair to Bellewstown, we were there last week, and if you jump well in Bellewstown, you're up with the speed. Usually, pacey horses can win from there. Not so much. Cork is like it changed from race to race in Cork. It's where the pace is in Cork. It's fair. Usually, you could win from low on one day, and next time you wouldn't be mapped there. So that's tricky enough in big fields, I suppose. The Curragh the same. Where the speed is, or slow ground. One day stands rail would be, and on the other days then low draw would suit. So it depends on conditions and on the day, I think, and usually where the speed of the race is too. I think that's the main criteria.
Yeah, and it's one of the things for punters. I suppose a lot of punters I'm speaking to at the moment are finding it quite tough in Ireland at the moment. But there's just so much going on. Johnny Mac, they certainly found it tough if they'd have bet on the Arc during the weekend. How did it go for the firm? Because this was an absolute perler of result, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely, Johnny. I think we got most of the book. It was one of these results as the horses went past the line. You kind of had to look down and say, "What's that?" But yeah, it was a screamer. You couldn't have written the result better, Johnny.
What you make for Billy?
Tarnawa acquitted herself really well, but
to not away from the winner, he quickened best. They didn't seem to go a mad gallop, and they seemed to on the ground quicken well and keep that quickening speed to right to the line. To not away from him, he was the best horse in the race in the day.
Yeah, and as Johnny Mac said there, Tarnawa ran a blinder. Fran, was there anything that could have been done differently from the Irish perspective? I suppose particularly Tarnawa just seemed to have every chance.
I don't think so. If you took the German horse out of it, you would have said it was a race for the ages and a cracking finish. And there was some great headshot footage, camera footage of Christoph Sumion going through the gaps. And I think the rain really played a factor in the result for Tarnawa. But that said, Hurricane Lane ran superbly well. Adyar is getting faster and freer. He was probably too fresh on the back of that hold up, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him right down to a mile a quarter next year. But look, she was second in an Arc. She just got beaten, and from 2 furlongs out here, I was drawn to the horse in yellow colours, the winner. And you're there, what the hell is this? Because he's travelling the best, and he duly went on and won. And I suppose his back form was there, but still a big surprise.
And Johnny Mac, the weekend in general, how did it go for Bar 1? Because obviously a case of you won for Ado McGuinness. Mother Earth was beaten in Newmarket, and generally the Irish basically drew a blank across the sea over the weekend.
Yeah, the results were so. A case of you, Johnny, was well back. Was put up on one of the tip lines. Some well-known tipster put it up. Even when I was looking at the shows there during the day, I couldn't believe it was so short. But that was a bad result. But in general, the results, I think they were okay across the board for us.
What an unbelievable result for Fran Berry. Fran, for Ado McGuinness. He's invested more in these kind of higher quality of horses. KSU was a good winner of a maiden for John McConnell we had on recently. This is a massive result for a trainer who's trying to go places.
What a day for Ado McGuinness. Ronan Whelan, the Devlins, who were brave enough to take a punt on this horse. He had a very good campaign, but often for them 3-year-olds, it can be a tough year for them if they fall between 2 cracks, and he's really come of age as a sprinter. First run at 5 furlongs in the Flying 5, and he ran great with hindsight, particularly from a low draw on the day, and they got their due rewards by supplementing him for the Abbey, 25 grand. And God, it was close in the dying strides. I didn't know if he got there, Billy, but last stride he landed.
Oh, definitely. I didn't know. I didn't think he'd got there, Fran, but he was coming so quick. You wouldn't know, and I'm delighted for Ronnie when he got called the winner, because he deserved that. He works hard.
What does a win like that mean to a jockey like Ronan Whelan?
Oh, sure. Everton, Johnny, you know what I mean? Because we put so much work in, and those big days are rare. Like, so, you know, and especially for the way for it to happen. And no, they're special. And they're well earned. You know, that's for sure.
And just Fran, it was Aidan had a quiet weekend. I think he'd 18 runners or so since his last winner. Mother Earth was obviously turned over. Just one of them weekends from this horse that never really got into it in the air.
No, I thought Snowfall was coming at one point off the cutaway rail. I don't know, maybe she got bogged down to really deep ground, but the same, could apply to them all, and she did handle it in Epsom. Mother Earth ran it right up there, I suppose. She just seems to find one too good along the way, and the rest of them just came short, didn't they? So, that's the joys of it. We were saying last week, the stable are back bang in form, and quite weekend they're not in form. So that's the joys of high level racing.
How would you sum up your own season, Billy? We have a little bit of a V tier here. I know it's been a special season as well for your sister. Starting Monday, I don't know if you remember this back in May. This is probably one of the hardest earned winners maybe of all times, but it just shows the lengths that you can go to get a winner. But what sort of season have you had all in all?
Delighted with the way the year has gone. I've had plenty, I suppose, good big winners in Group 2s, and that still chasing the Group 1. Hopefully we can get one before the year is out, but plenty nice winners. Numerically probably still a few behind last year, but definitely I've probably added a few more Group 3s and Group 2s to my list this year, so delighted with the way things are going.
How would you assess it from Fran?
Listen, I think it's been a very good year. Billy does a great job of balancing 3 jobs basically between William McCreary, Ken Condon and Paddy Toomey's a common force, Billy, and his strike rate is unbelievably built. The way 50% of them, I think, have been the first 3 of what he's ran, and whatever he runs is very, very competitive.
Yeah, Fran, look, he has him, he likes him to run well, obviously, but he, as he said himself, he doesn't like to run bad horses. Now, that other people might say that is arrogance, but it's just Paddy's ethos, and it's not arrogance. He just wants perfection, really, more so than anything. And he likes to go racing with a chance of a winner. So that's just the way he thinks of it, and that's the way thank God, that's the way the horses run too.
They do indeed. And speaking of winners, and you mentioned lack of a Group 1 winner, Le Petit Coco on Champions Day, soft ground, 1.5 miles. She beat Love in the Blandford, 10 furlongs, good ground. I thought it was against her. I know you're getting the weight, but she's going to be better come the day up and Trip, is she?
Definitely Trip, Fran. And every suggestion that ground shouldn't be a problem either. She's hardy. I thought that day, 1.25 miles, good ground was going to be on the tight side for her, and she showed all her battling qualities that day and the heart she has. So I'm more than confident that the Trip is not going to be any problem, because she won over 1.5 miles in Cork, and she definitely wasn't stopping there, and ground shouldn't be a problem either, I don't think.
How good is she?
She's not one that shows you a big amount at home, so she's very hard to read. But she's improving the whole time, and she's coming up through the grades. I think it'll take a fair one to beat her in the Group 1. I have a lot of confidence in the filly, and I think a fair one. It'll take a fair one to beat her.
And Billy, you have a very strong book of rides well tomorrow. So you start riding Roman Bull for Mick O'Mara. That's your first ride of the day. 5 rides at Thurles, and a busy book at Navan as well.
Yeah, Navan. A couple of nice rides in Navan. Hopefully, 1 or 2 will click. Keel Bay ran well in the Curragh. The slower ground shouldn't be an issue, and probably dropping back and forth might be, but I'm hoping the ground will offset that. William McCreary's filly ran well in Cork to be second. The ground wouldn't want to be much slower for her, but I'd be hoping she'll run a good race as well. And Thurles have a couple of nice rides. Snugsborough Hall in a 2 miler, and have Universal Folks that have won in Dundalk there lately as well, again on over 1.5 miles. So hopefully he can run well.
Yeah, Snugsborough Hall is a very interesting ride. Obviously, what sort of chance do you give him? A horse with plenty of ability over jump?
Yeah, exactly. But the only thing it's a competitive 2 mile race around Thurles. But look, if he brings his jump form to the flat and he has the speed, I suppose he'd have a good chance.
In terms of your Fran said you've kind of three main trainers there. Like how much traveling do you have to do throughout the week to kind of maintain links with the likes of the trainers that you're riding for over the next few days?
Look, I'm lucky enough that when I go to the Curragh twice a week, I get most of my work done. There, and I've been Paddy Toomey's 2 days a week as well. So I'd be busy Tuesday, Friday on the Curragh, and Wednesday, Saturday in with Paddy. So I'd be kept going, but it's rewarding enough, so I don't mind it.
I know Fran really fancies one of your mounts in Navan, but before we get to Navan, what do you like in Thurles, Fran?
Thurles, the only flat card of the year down there now. It's good to see actually racing back. How do you find that, Billy? The track, it obviously all depends on the ground, but it's a track to the pace, beyond the pace of it.
Definitely over the mile, Fran. Yeah, you have to be you have to jump well and get up to speed there early, because you don't get much of a chance to get into the race around the top area on a real good horse, especially in the maidens. Yeah, it pays to be up with the speed. So the longer distance races, you can creep into the race all right over the 1.5 and 2 miles, but definitely the miles you have to be up with the speed.
You do indeed. And the first race in Thurles, Johnny, Timira, trained by Dermot Wells, going to be a warm order. She was a big eye catcher.
Would the absence worry you at all? Would you be worried about the absence at all?
The absence, not really. She was a big backward filly when I seen her in Cork, but Vice of Angels has the experience, and I'm hoping Tamira will make it a prize for Vice of Angels.
Yeah, very, very strong chance. What have you made of Caravaggio so far this season, Fran?
Good start. His colts are quite hot. I don't know if Billy's ridden any of them, but I've seen a few of them play up the back of the gates. But highly talented Billy, as the filly that won the Cheveley Park would allude to.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, they have talent, but they're a little bit funny, a little bit tricky, but he can get them to run all right, but just they're a bit hot in the head now. But if you can get a good one, I'd say they're tough at the back of it.
And it's always good to get guests on the show who ride horses that one of us fancies. And one of these horses is running in Navan in the form of Keel Bay, Fran, on Thursday.
Yeah, Keel Bay back in the nursery after a great handicap debut at the Curragh. Real eye-catcher day, Billy. Just got going too late. Possibly had to switch around it, but I think switch around a couple of the first and second to make her challenge. But I think it was strong nursery form. If you think to drop down a triple suit her, she's an obvious winner waiting to happen, I'd feel.
You'll be hoping so, Fran. She was a shade unlucky. I just went to go for a run up the rail and Ben just drifted in front of me, so I just had to sit and switch back. I felt I had still enough time to get there, but to be fair to Ben's one, she battled well. My only worry is she got £5 for it, which would be plenty now for finishing third in the nursery. I know she was only beating 2 heads, but look, if she can overcome that, she'll have a good chance.
What's Navan like to ride over on the flat, Billy?
It's a good track. It's very fair. A stiff track, stiff finish. You always have to sort of keep a bit up your sleeve when you get off that hill, that you don't go for everything, because it's a long way out of the dip, up the line on the flat anyway, and but usually just a fair enough track.
Dancing Rebel ran a lovely race first time out. This is the second race on Wednesday. Must have a reasonable chance for Ken Condon as well.
Yeah, you'd be hoping so. I think it's an open looking maiden. Nothing to me is standing out. She ran a nice race, carried me into the race well in Cork, and I thought I was going to get involved, and probably 7 furlongs to a mile next should be more suiting her, but hopefully 6 in the slow might bring her into the race.
And Texas Rock in the handicap, this horse fairly rolled back the years last time.
Yeah, he's been a great servant to Joe Keelan and Michael Grassick, and he, as you say, rolled back the years with a strong battling performance in the Curragh the last day. Look, the ground I think need to be slower, but saying that, if he's in good form and he carries it through, look, hopefully he can run a good race and be thereabouts again.
And Quilnashunna starts the season rated 46, now running off 78. Just touched off at Cork the last day, and she's just a mare that still might have one of these in her, you think?
Yeah, you'd be hoping so. She jumped uncharacteristically. She was a little bit edgy in the stalls and jumped slow at me, and I just ended up having to sit in around Cork after. She took me into the race well, and I thought I had a cracking chance there about a furlong down, and typical one of Bulger, she kept battling away to the line. She didn't stop, so look, she wouldn't want the ground much slower, but saying that, hopefully she's in good form, that she'll have a squeak.
How does it work that you're riding Quilnashunna rather than Petticoat Rule for your sister?
I sure have to keep the boss and one of the bosses happy anyway, so but hopefully she can run a good race as well. We're delighted she won in Listowel, 7 furlongs. I thought was going to be on the sharp side for her now, but she good battling performance. Look, ideal. I think the slow ground mile around Navan hopefully will suit, and Mark is back on her. He knows her well, so hopefully she'll go well.
It's something, Fran, that maybe hasn't been mentioned much. Gillian Scott, she's had 6 individual runners this season, 3 winners, 4 wins from 28 runs with 9 placed, which isn't bad going at all for a small operation.
Not bad at all, and obviously you seem to have a few more horses on the go this year, Billy, from what I could see, is it?
Yeah, we're sort of lucky enough now. We have a few more, and hopefully we'll be looking to try and get a few more in the sales again, just to restock for next year, hopefully, and keep that run going. She's had a great year, and as you say, Johnny, like, while the ones haven't won, they've been placed plenty, and look, hopefully she can carry that again next year, and we're delighted the way things have gone this year now.
Is this a precursor to your own sort of training operation into the future, or is that a plan down the line?
No, I think I'll leave her at that now. I think I'll just stay in the background.
Does she have many owners, or is she trying to grow the operation?
Grow the operation, Johnny. To be fair, what owners we have in Everton, we've sort of made a couple of those syndicates, the starting Mondays and Petticoat Rules, and that we've made those syndicates, and a couple of owners have joined in as well. So that's been rewarding as well. That the couple of syndicates they have set up have been rewarded with successes, and look, we always should be delighted to get a few more owners into the air, but we'll take it as it comes and keep building it.
Is that something for stock in the background there? Someone is certainly making noise. What do you like on the card Wednesday at Navan, Johnny Mac?
I thought Herring Island ran a lovely race in what looked a decent nace for Johnny. It was a horse United Nations of Aidan O'Brien won it, and I thought he shot shape with real promise. That horse of Joseph's, Herring Island. I think he'd be hard to beat. Although those Navan maidens this time of year can be very hot. You never know what you're going to bump into.
What do you like in the card, Fran?
In Navan, I thought Billy's one, Keel Bay, would be very popular in the first race. Siesta Beach, I've been trying to give her another chance, perhaps in the second. I was very disappointed with her nace. But my time, I tell it was a good race, and she's crucially, Billy might go into this. She's drawn and stalled 22 in Navan tomorrow, which I think won't be a negative if the ground goes slow. And in that 3:30 race, Adonis will be very popular, but Herring Island and Porto Ericol, Gerlines and Joseph Ryan's runners will be also in the mix. And the handicaps, take your pick. I will give it Giselle a mention in the last. And Man 4 in the 4 or 5 actually gave Brian Duffy and Frank Duffy's dad a great start to the meeting in Bellstown last week. They had 2 winners at the meeting. Brian Duffy's first winner as a trainer, and then the next day they won the maiden as well. That was a great result, Billy. And Frank Duffy, you would have known for years. He's well known for Michael Cunningham's and Jerry Keane's yard.
Yeah, exactly. No, just delighted that what a way to train your first winner and then come on and train your second one from 2 horses the day after. Fair play to him, and hopefully that they'll get a few more horses in, and he'll keep it going. I was impressed with his maiden winner. I thought she won Cosley. Shamey was good in her, and she won with a filly that had probably a couple of more pounds up her sleeve, and she'll be one to keep an eye on.
Actually, Bellestown was great crack last week because it was obviously a special day with Frankie Dettori coming in, and we did a little bit of footage, just kind of taking in some of the sights, sounds, and characters for a little feature that'll be played out in the channel. And here's a little sneak preview of what might be to come.
So we're going to finally solve the mystery. Who was Benny O'Hanlon actually talking to on the phone all those years ago in 1975? Because his nephew Joe knows the answer.
Yes, I do. He was actually speaking to the speaking clock. That's a fact.
For how long?
For 20 minutes before the race. He'd a load of 10p pieces wrapped in paper pieces. He kept pushing them in and pushing them in and pushing them in. Had to speak to somebody. So the only thing he could think of was to ring the speaking clock.
Your uncle played such a massive role in this fairy tale, and it wasn't an easy job.
No, not at all. But he was a great actor. And like yourself. But very reliable. And Barney only looked for reliable men. And there Benny was the man.
Would you have trusted all these men today now to do the job?
These guys here. These boys couldn't keep quiet. They couldn't keep quiet.
I don't know, Billy. It was absolutely amazing to me how much Frankie Dettori drew people around him at Bellestown, and I was thinking I would not be able to hack this every day of the week if it were me. I'd be just like, Jesus, I just want to go home. But he just posed for the cameras. He gave everyone hugs, and he was just a massive draw.
Oh, massive! I'm not messing. It's like it was mental there. Like people, uncharacteristically, like they were like kids meeting their superstar soccer player or something like that. I don't know what it was, but like the crowd went mental, and he played it brilliantly. And I tell you, it was a great buzz around the place. And after all we've been through over the last year and a half, 2 years, it was absolutely brilliant just to see a buzzing crowd again. We had a bit of a Champions weekend, but definitely there, like even though it was only Bellestown, it was just great crack to see.
Actually, people said that to me, Billy. They said this is the first day since the start of the pandemic that it feels like we're back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? There was a crowd around the phone box, and Frankie was inside in it. And there's the video of the fella, and he was trying to get the autograph in around the corner. And I'd say Pat Healy was ready to kill him to get out of the picture.
You were there, Johnny Mac. You could. Sorry, you were there, Johnny Mac. It was a mad day, and it felt like Barney was looking down.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, Johnny. And funny, I remember back at Bellestown in July, and the seed of it was sown, I think, there. My boss, Alan Delaney, and Alan mentioned that what was in his mind, and Barney encouraged him to go for it. Barney kind of had ideas, and that, yeah, it kind of mushroomed from that, and they made some day of it.
Who's the best jockey of your generation, Billy? Would you say it's Frankie, or is it someone else?
Johnny, it's a hard question. He was, he ruled there in the 90s and the early 90s, and obviously he went away. Well, he went quiet a bit, and then he came back, and he's been, in my eyes, supreme. There's a few of them. Look, he's brilliant. Ryan Moore as well. Obviously, Pat Mullen was, he was up at the best. Murta, Canaan. I could go on a few more of them, but definitely he's up there with one of the best of them anyway.
Billy's sitting on the fence, Fran, but I'll ask you, what's he like as a person? To me, he's a bit of an enigma, but I think I got more of an appreciation for Frankie at Bellestown, because it was unbelievable the amount of attraction around him, and that can't be easy either. Do you hear me there, Fran?
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant Billy. Sorry about Frankie.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go. I think Frankie, we got to enjoy him while we have him, don't we? He's complete box office. He did say to me a couple of years ago that he'd love to ride in Galway, and I told him not to do it. But the fact he's been to Bellestown, I think Galway should get their skates on and book him in for the Monday or the Sunday or something in between Goodwood, because one of them quieter days, he wouldn't have filled the track there. It'd be some draw. But to go to Bellestown during the week, Thursday before the ARC meeting, Billy, it wasn't the ideal prep, but he lifted the place from what I could see, and it was a magic moment.
Definitely lifted. Yeah, exactly as you say, 4 days before an ARC, and you'd be thinking, geez, what's he doing in Bellestown? But no, he did. He lifted the day, and he made it a special day, and definitely like even just being there, he made it a special day, and then to come out and win was unreal altogether.
It was, and at a very backable price. We have actually betting for the Cesarewitch on Saturday at Newmarket. You'll hardly have a ride in the race, WJD, will you?
It looking unlikely. I'd probably be just in Limerick, I'd say. It's an open looking race. The one I like about it, and it's sort of gone in a roundabout way of getting there, is Born and Victory. One in France, a good handicap in France there. It's just coming in. It's probably coming in under the radar. She hadn't been mentioned. I know she's up in the betting, but there's definitely one I'd be looking to keep on side.
What do you make with Johnny Mac?
Yeah, it looks wide open, Johnny. Of course, Willie's won the last 3 runnings of it, and he's got some really smart herd and big names penciled in to ride him. Ryan Moore is booked to ride MC Muldoon. All the indications are there's a big run expected. There's been a lot of money for MC Muldoon over the last.
What do you make of it, Fran?
In the Ascot Stakes, Johnny, was kind of his run was checked in late, and if that run wasn't delayed, I think he'd have won that Ascot Stakes.
Fran, this is going to be wide open.
Yeah, wide open. Cesarewitch, I not quite settled on what will win it. Racing TV will be doing the verdict on Thursday when the declarations are out. On that, so I'll have a clearer picture. But I will give a mention to number 5, Live Your Dream. Side Bins Ruer's runner, not just because the horse has a very good chance. He was second to Turnpike Trip in his last run in the trial at the track. Adam Farrer has been booked to ride, claimed £5, and I think it deserves Billy a big mention. He rode 4 winners at Chester on Saturday. He hadn't ridden 4 winners all year since moving in Ireland, and then he's moved to England. He's with William Haggis, and he's just the opportunities Billy is getting going now.
He's definitely one to watch. I think he moved at the right time. He had his experience here, and I wouldn't say he was stalemated here, but he just wasn't getting going quick enough. And I think he went at the right time, but he's gone to England with experience. And even it took him a couple of weeks to get going, but the ball is starting to roll for him now. And he's a good chap. He sounds well, good rider. And he's probably one that's going to be. He'll probably be champion apprentice next year with a bit of luck if he stays everything right for him for next year. No, he's a good lad, and it's a good ride to pick up for him.
Is it a golden generation of young riders coming through here? I know Dermot Wells said something similar, really.
Yeah, there's good lads coming through. There's some cracking young lads in there riding at the moment. Dylan Brown McMonagall is probably the best in there at the moment, and he's down to 3, but there's plenty of lads coming on behind him now, and there's probably 6 or 7 lads there that could make it. You know yourself, Johnny, over the years, and Fran, you'd see good lads come in and they might do well, and next thing they're gone by a year or 2 later. But I really do think that these couple of lads will be around for years to come.
They probably think of you as one of the outlaws now, do they?
I'm getting there, all right, yeah.
We all are. Actually, will you have anything in the Cesarewitch at home at the weekend?
I just looking at the entries. It's open. I'm hoping the weights go up and might give me a better chance of getting in the ride. But I'll just have to wait and see. There's nothing confirmed yet.
And Anthony at the Curragh, we should be looking out for you, my ride.
Depends on the ground. Paddy Toomey has Stormy Girl entered again. The Waterford testimonial. She ran well the last day, probably a bit fresh after a long layoff. She would want good ground, so the soft ground, we'll see if she runs, but she'd be the one to keep an eye on if she does run. And limited pressure as well in the mile, sorry.
Beautiful. Let's get to the naps for the weekend, starting with you, Fran Berry.
Naps for the weekend, or week, should we say. Thursday, Thurles, last race. Jesse Evans, Colin Keane will be riding for Noel Mead. This horse ran extremely well in the Galway Hurley, was fourth there, beaten 2.5 lengths behind Sadlier. He won the big handicap hurl at Killarney in May. Put a line through his run where he was a disappointing odds-on favourite mid-July. He ran away with Pat Taft going to the start, and he ran 2 keen in the race behind Mona's Melody, which is actually quite good form as things have turned out. Snugsborough Hall was third, but he ran himself into the ground, and Noel Mead's horse were bang out of form at the time of Galway. So the fact he could run so well in the Galway Hurl, I think he's a high-class horse, and I think he'll win on Thursday.
I think he'll win. We like that. Johnny Mack.
Yeah, I'm going to put up Herring Island. I left the cat out of the bag a bit earlier, Johnny, but that's the one I'm going to put up. I thought it ran a really nice race. On Debbie, the fort reopposes Ger Lyons is poor there called. I think Herring Island, if he steps up from that run, he should be very hard to beat in that maiden on Wednesday now. I
think if we'd Herring a cat in a bag, there'd only be one winner there. Let's hope that Herring Island wins. 4:40 at Navan Arkland, a horse trained by Harry Rogers. Wishing Harry all the best. And obviously this horse coming back off a very, very low mark is fine, fresh. I think 1.2 miles around Navan will be no problem with a ease in the ground as well. Billy, your hopes for the rest of the season?
So look, I'm on 43 winners there at the moment. Hopefully, and get to the 50. And Group 1 winner, hopefully. I think the filly and Ascot Le Petit Coco has a strong chance. And we'll see if Pearls Galore can get to the Breeders' Cup. Hopefully, she can run a good race if she does head over.
That'll be class. And just before you go, you've seen Fran Berry's reversion from leading jockey to TV personality. Is there something you consider yourself down the line?
We'll see. Fran is
not ruling out, Fran.
Fran was better at studying than me now, so we'll see.
You're too busy modelling yourself and Jamie Spencer waiting for the last minute.
He's a stylist, Fran, no more than yourself.
Definitely.
That was On the Wire. Billy, thanks a million for coming in.
Thanks, Johnny.
Best of luck tomorrow, obviously, in Navan and in Thurles on Thursday. And that was in association with Bar 1 Racing. We'll be back next week.
This is On the Wire, Racing TV's podcast for the best racing previews in association with Bar 1 Racing.